Yeah, okay, time to live free. Plenty goals I'm achieving. Some real life topics and talking financial freedom. Mindset, soul and love, everything in between. This is Freedom Podcast. Tune in, live free. Hey, got my mindset right and I got the drive. Planning one day, no more job, no more 9 to 5. Love, money, mind. Love, money, mind. This is freedom. Tune in, cause it's going down. Woo!
Hi, this is Anna and welcome to another episode of Your Freedom Podcast. In this episode, I interview Tanya Cole-Lesnick. Tanya is a psychotherapist, a licensed clinical social worker and a personal development coach. She's focused on helping people to pursue a life that honours their truest selves, is clear of energetic clutter, and that they are genuinely excited to be living. She does this by helping her clients to identify the limiting beliefs and behaviour patterns that take up mental space and demand energy but don't help to move the needle towards growth, meaning, or how they want to feel. This is what Tanya calls energetic clutter. She helps her clients to heal faulty narratives and change the habits that don't serve them so they are living in alignment inside and out. You're going to love this interview. Tanya is an inspiring lady and I can't wait to share this episode with you. So hi Tanya, it is great to have you on the show.
Oh, hi Anna, I'm so happy to be here with you.
And I know that you are, it's afternoon time here in the UK and you're in New York, so it's very early morning for you.
Yes.
I just love how this podcast has been able to connect me with loads of amazing people globally.
I love that. Yeah.
It's so cool. And I know that also, like me, you focus a lot on self-development. You know, it's really important. I mention a lot on this podcast, I have my 3 pillars. And then, because it's a freedom podcast, I have freedom in love, which for me is a lot around self-care and self-love, mainly.
Yeah.
The love we give out to the world, and looking after ourselves, really. And so the self-development comes in there. Freedom in money, because even though my life isn't all about generating income, it's important. It gives us the flexibility. It gives us less stress if we're focusing more on that abundance stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then also freedom in mind, which the word mind, to be honest, it just fitted with love, money and mind. But mind and mindset does not do it justice for me. I'm not really keen on the word mind or mindset. Because for me, it's a much deeper level to kind of enriching our mind, I suppose, as a whole. And for me, it's just really the message is we don't need to be positive all of the time. But we don't know what's around the corner in our lives of what external factors can happen. And it's just being able to have like that toolbox of allowing ourselves to go through a moment in time. And then also knowing that, you know, tomorrow could be a different day, and just, you know, being able to navigate through certain situations that happen in our life, I suppose. Because I was a person who was like, I believed I had to be positive all the time. And it's like, I'm fine. And I was keeping it all inside. So it's a little snapshot.
Yeah.
What I mean by the different pillars. And I'm sure you can relate to all of those.
Totally. And I think that just what you were saying about that sort of toxic positivity or spiritual bypassing, where it's kind of in this mode, I'm just going to be positive. I'm just going to be positive. But if you're not honoring what's really in there, it's going to come out in other ways.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I know that you have been doing all these amazing retreats, and you're a therapeutic coach, and I know you focus a lot more on like the self-development stuff these days. But how did this all begin? How did you get into this kind of like field of work? How did it all start?
Yeah, well, it started from my own personal struggles, really. When I was in my mid-20s, I was really longing to have a long-term love relationship. I imagined myself with a partner, married with children one day, and my relationships were very short, not lasting, and I didn't understand what was in the way for me. It was very painful. And as we often do when we don't understand something, we come up with our own answers. And I think part of what I feared was that it was perhaps because I was unlovable. And that was a horrible sort of idea to be carrying around with me. And I'm sure it sort of showed up in places where I was meeting new people that that sort of apprehension about how it was showing up. At that time, I thought about therapy a little bit, but there was a lot of stigma. This was more than 30 years ago. So I was concerned about stigma. It was in New York, which was at the time probably the most accepting place of therapy, but still I felt uncomfortable. And I also was very dismissive of my issues. And I thought, well, therapy is really for people who are struggling with real issues. It didn't feel so real to me. But as it still wasn't happening over time, I decided that I didn't care anymore whether or not it was the right answer for me. I wanted some sort of help and support. So I got some names and I connected to a wonderful therapist named Bonnie. And it was in that initial telling of my story that I felt very safe emotionally and seen. It was so healing from the start. And then she suggested I add group therapy to the mix as I was doing that. And she ran both. She did the individual and she also ran group. The thought of it was pretty terrifying, though, like going into a situation where I was going to be sharing some of my inner world with other people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really scary. But I was building trust in her. She really thought it would be helpful. And it was kind of intriguing. What's that like to be in a room where people are talking about their inner world? So I decided to give it a go. And that was an interesting experience. Definitely some challenges, but also a lovely beginning of me starting to embrace myself as a human being, as opposed to what I had thought, which was this very flawed person, and connecting to other people on their own personal growth journeys who were expressing some of their own insecurities, but I could see how amazing they were. So it allowed me to have a bit of a crack in my own story, that maybe it wasn't about me being unlovable and so flawed. It was just this being human thing is complicated. And yeah, so that helped me let go some of that story. And in the process, pretty early on, I met a man who I started to date, and we eventually, not even that long from then, got married. And he and I just celebrated, actually, we're about to celebrate our 31st wedding anniversary. And we have 2 grown kids. So the whole goal about why I went to group happened pretty early on.
Yeah.
But the journey kind of unfolded in a surprising way as well, because it was in that connecting to myself, learning that I had needs, learning how to communicate about what my needs are, learning how to be intimate with people, like emotionally intimate with people, and share parts of myself and feel safe enough to be vulnerable. All of that changed the quality of my life in such a significant way that I decided to leave my career as a graphic designer, go back to school, and I became a therapist. And I've been doing that work ever since, really dedicating my life to helping other people have transformations of their own, mostly to fall in love with themselves more than anything else.
Yeah, absolutely. And that really fits into my freedom and love part.
Yeah.
Because I think there was a quote that I saw someone put, I can't remember now off the top of my head. Maybe I can. It was, I think it was on Instagram recently, like, why are you so bothered about what other people think when you don't even love yourself?
Yeah.
That is so true.
Yes.
I'm sure everybody can relate to that at some part on their journey, that with society pressures and all that kind of stuff, there's all this pressure of, to do a certain thing or be a certain way.
Yeah.
And then, but actually deep down, do you really actually love yourself? But we should be focused on more about ourselves rather than what anybody else. It's not their life, And I think you sort of touched a bit on that with talking about your journey, probably because you were so, when you were doing the therapy and the group stuff, you kind of relaxed into stuff.
Yeah.
Like with you meeting your, partner who you're still with today, like, you were focusing on probably you and growing you so much that it just fell into place. You know what I mean?
Totally. Yeah, the whole processing inside my own mind, it used to be, oh my God, is this person going to like me? How do I need to show up for this person? And I spent a lot of time in my mind censoring things and deciding what was worthy of sharing, what wasn't. The impact on that kind of processing means I'm not fully present. I'm a little bit sort of stiff. I'm not embodied. And so my connection is very, it's disconnected.
Yeah. Really, it's really, really interesting stuff. And I love how, having had that experience, because I do think our life experience then go on to what we can then grow and discover our purpose.
Yeah.
You think, oh God, I've gone through that, and actually I now want to help other people who could be feeling stuck for several different reasons.
Yeah.
What do you think, like, for someone who could be listening to this, who might be feeling whatever it is, that they could be going through something at the moment, or it might just be, like you say, a journey of always feeling a certain way, or something's happened suddenly in their life, or they've been diagnosed with something, or they've gone through a breakup, and they're listening to this,
Mm.
and what do you think is like a first step? Because how did you make that step to go and see the therapist in the first place? Because I think that is, you've got to have a bit of courage, haven't you, to actually reach out to say, we get personal trainers and we show off about it, but if we get a therapist, it's like, I don't know, I think it's getting better.
Totally is getting better. And I think with podcasts like yours, and the conversation is growing, which I love so much. That brings me such a sense of joy, satisfaction. It just feels right that as human beings, we're starting to realize that whole messaging that I shared with you is like, oh, it's not that we're flawed, we're human, and human beings have a lot of layers to them. And so, yeah, I mean, for me, it was really the pain point. I think I was in such emotional pain at that point, really longing for something that wasn't happening in my life. That was what prompted me to take action in a way that was scary, but it didn't matter at that point because I was getting to the place where I would have done whatever it would take to help me kind of interrupt the pattern that was in the way for me. I think in my work, I've started to talk about what can be in the way for so many of us is this idea of energetic clutter. I've been naming it that. And what I mean by that is it's really anything that's taking up space in our psyches and are literally taking up time, but energy, focus. And it's things like limiting beliefs and then the paired behaviors that go along with the limiting beliefs. And I'll say a little bit more, but what I want to say about that is the energetic clutter at these limiting beliefs and the behaviors can take up so much space for us that we don't have space and energy to focus on the things we really want in our lives. It kind of depletes us. So an example that I share a lot is my own journey with people pleasing and learning that, oh, I'm operating with this limiting belief that if I'm not agreeable, if I don't say yes to other people, if I don't defer to other people first, I'm going to be abandoned. It's not going to be emotionally safe for me. And so I better show up for other people. That was a long time without me even realizing it. That was a belief that kind of guided my behavior. And so as I got a better understanding of this, and this is further down the road than what I shared with you about the group, that was a more recent, I mean, not that recent, but still, I mean, it was, as I said, that the group experience was like over 30 years ago. This was probably 10 years ago. And so just realizing, oh, this belief is guiding my behavior and it's problematic is so helpful to start to understand and identify those things. So I would say for everybody to understand, we all carry limiting beliefs that grow out of our childhoods, the families that we grew up in, and our cultures. And also some get developed later on when we have very intense experiences that kind of lead us to have certain beliefs about who we are, how we're showing up in life.
Yeah.
If we don't look at them, they will run the show.
Definitely. And it's like, it's these subconscious things that you're not, a lot of the time, not aware of.
That's right.
I think a lot of it is the first step of being aware of stuff, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Awareness can, even if you've not done any work with it yet, being aware can really help people.
Totally. Yeah. And once you're aware, it's kind of, you can't unring that bell, you know? It's like, once you're aware, it's like, oh man, then you start to notice, where is it showing up? And, some people are so uncomfortable with it, they kind of want to stuff it back down.
Yeah.
But if you're somebody who really is noticing, all right, I see how that gets in the way, it can be just so helpful to track where it's showing up. I talk to clients all the time about tracking stuff because it helps us start to identify patterns, what might be underneath some of these patterns. And then that gives us some tools that we can start to move towards not letting those beliefs run the show and catching them in action and being able to rewire ourselves, because this is part of how we get wired.
Yeah. I love that. I like the tracking. I think that's really good. And I know people might be listening to this going, hey, I want this tracking. I want this Tanya, New York lady, sounds cool. How do you work with people? Because I know you do all sorts of, like we were saying at the beginning, you do different retreats, you've got coaching programs. Let everybody know how you can help people and how you help them in different ways.
Yeah. It's actually not totally updated on my website yet. I was originally creating a more.
What's going on at the moment?
What's that?
I've got a task at the moment where I've said to one of my VAs, I need you to look at my website because there's some stuff on there that there's a program that I don't do anymore. I'm laughing and just clarifying why I'm laughing because it was just reassuring me that we have things that as we evolve our website.
Totally. Always a work in progress. Yeah. So it's funny because it's sort of about what we're talking about. We are always evolving and growing. And so to allow ourselves to be kind of fluid that way. So I offer virtual, individual, and group sessions. And what I used to envision was this idea of, I'm going to put together this program and it's going to look a certain way. And as I connected to my own truth, realized that I'm much more very fluid in the way that I work with people. So we can come together with a combination of individual and group, or just individual or just group. And that would be part of the conversation that I would have. I offer a free discovery session on my website. And so I can talk to people about what combination might be really helpful. Sometimes starting with some individual can be helpful. It can get you a better, clearer understanding of yourself. And then coming into a group situation, and I do retreats.
Confidence, like if you do a few individual first, builds up your confidence of like opening up your thoughts and what's going on in your mind, or Fred in the head, as I call it.
Yes, that's right. And then getting to know me a little bit, developing some trust in me. And then when you come together in a group situation, I think that can be really a helpful foundation to have had that. Not everybody needs it. Some people have done maybe a lot of work on themselves already, but want the group component. So they might be feeling more ready to jump into a group situation. But I would like to say about the group piece is that there are a few common themes that come up. People are often very afraid, like I shared with you that I was scared of joining a group. And they often think that there is an expectation that you quietly listen to other people until it's your turn, and that other people are taking up their own space. But it's much more synergistic than that. It's as we're hearing other people, we're connecting to ourselves. So it's such an amazing tool to touch some of that unconscious stuff. We can come into a group situation not necessarily knowing. I actually offer topics to my groups in between the sessions. The groups run every other week, and then the week in between, I offer them a topic to start thinking about. The topic for this week in my group is connecting to your magic. How do you do that? How do you access your magic? What does that look like? Sometimes we talk about energy, and sometimes we talk about limiting beliefs. So I'm always offering a topic. But as you're hearing other people talk in group, it allows us to notice what's bubbling up, what's resonating for us, what's something maybe we haven't thought about in 20 years. But now that this person is mentioning it, like, oh my God, me too. So,
Yeah. I like that. I really like that. Really good. It's funny. I was planning a retreat, and then COVID happened. I planned a retreat. It was when you said international. I was like, it's all scary now to plan something international, isn't it? Because you're like, is there going to be another lockdown at some point?
That's right.
But I really wanted to do one in Bali, but I am doing my first. Well, I say first retreat. It's a combination retreat because I do a lot of help people write books on Amazon, as well as selling physical products on Amazon and Etsy. And I think writing can be really cathartic, and it's quite healing and stuff, and creative. So I'm doing my first sort of, it's a book straight retreat because we're having yoga and different things in Barcelona. Sorry, not Barcelona, in Malaga, it's in Spain. Thinking about doing one in Barcelona too, which is coming up at the end of September. So I'm really super excited about it. It's like my first one. It's only 3 days.
I love that.
So it's kind of like a mixture of the things, because I kept umming and ahhing about what to kind of do, because I'm really into like spiritualism and different things like NLP and different sort of modalities that I've come across over the years as around, you know, self-development and all that kind of stuff, but always been focused just on my Amazon and Etsy as regards to business. And I was just like, really just wanted to do a retreat just to hang out with people myself.
I love that. Yeah.
So it's quite nice how kind of this stage it's still kind of more Amazon book, but you know, it's going to be a group of women that we're going to hang out and do some kind of spiritual stuff on there as well. So
that sounds awesome. Yeah.
But yours sound very amazing, because obviously it's all focused in that sort of self-development healing space. So
yeah. I mean, I love running retreats, and I also love attending them. I'm on Thursday. What day is it today? Wednesday. Tomorrow, I'm leaving for Italy, and I'm going to a women's retreat with a woman who runs a lot of different retreats. And it's such a, to me, I just the group that forms, the community and the connection that develops between people, again, who are sharing their inner worlds with each other on some level. I think there's such a really love that gets developed.
Yeah, exactly. Like a group power of love, isn't it? Really?
Yeah.
It's because everybody's vulnerable together, and it's a support thing. So you're going to be in Italy. You're going to be like my neighbour for the So for people who are listening to this that are thinking, oh, I'd love to work with Tanya, or just connect with you, or, you know, is there any, where do you hang out on social platforms? Is it Instagram, or would you prefer people to contact you through your website? Or
probably my name's a little tricky sometimes, so it's probably the easiest place to start is my website, and it is my name, but I have an easier to remember URL, which is clearenergeticclutter.com. So if anybody's listening to this and they don't have something to write down, that's probably the easiest way to find me. But Instagram and TikTok are the places that I hang out, doing my social media. I do lots of videos and ways of just thinking about this work. And I do a live Tuesdays with Tanya, I call it, on Instagram, and looking to expand that on TikTok as well, where it's not that long, but I take some of these ideas and expand a little bit on them. And it just changes every week. This past week, I had actually a young woman from my marketing team came on because she's also a classical musician, and she talked about limiting beliefs specifically within that field. So always trying to take some of my messaging and offer it to people in sort of useful bite-sized chunks.
The people come, it's relatable then, isn't it? Because then they can
Yes,
see how it could relate in their world.
that's right.
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
And interestingly, you've got your TikTok going. I keep saying to myself, I need to get more into TikTok because I've like really submersed into Instagram, and the reels are very similar. All these platforms, whether it's YouTube Shorts or Facebook Reels or whatever. So yeah, I'll definitely go and check that out. So anybody that is listening to this, if you are watching us on YouTube, hello, you'll be able to see in the comment sections all of Tanya's details that she's mentioned. So her website, the Clear, the Energy, what was it,
Clear Energetic Clutter
Energetic Clutter.
.com is the website. And actually, I'll email you because my handles for Instagram and TikTok I've updated them and I'm doing my name instead. And so it's Tanya Cole _Lesnick for both TikTok and Instagram. But you can get to there from my website as well.
Okay, brilliant. So we'll put
Yeah.
all of those links. If you are on YouTube, you'll see it in the comment section. If you're listening to us on Spotify or iTunes or any of the podcasting channels, you'll see all of these links also in the show notes. So everybody can, reach out directly to Tanya very easily, basically, because all the details are in the comments and the show notes. It's just great to connect with you. I've loved connecting with you. So for anybody that is final words, I suppose, before, anything that's going to help anybody, any first steps to, if someone's listening to this and thinking, you know what, I think this could be me. I maybe I am actually aware of a limiting belief that I have, sort of thing, or like when you mentioned the people pleasing, I think a lot of people probably can relate to that. What would you say to encourage them to reach out, whether it's to you or anybody else? Any final sort of thoughts on direction for them on what to do?
Yeah, I mean, I think if they are imagining their lives, wanting their lives to look a certain way and noticing that their lives are not matching what they want, and even if they have these ideas, oh, I'm going to start saying no to this because I realize that I'm not taking good care of myself when I say yes to this, whatever it is, but there's a real struggle to follow through. My guess is there's some underlying limiting beliefs in there that haven't been looked at. So I think if you notice there are certain patterns, often it's things like irritability, resentment, and just feeling depleted so much of the time. I think to start to look at what are maybe some of these patterns in play. My guess is it's this energetic clutter piece that I was mentioning, that there are things taking up space in your psyche that are not really honoring your truth. They're not who you are. They're not where your heart is. And I help people really tease all that out. What's in the way? And what do you want? And how are you going to get there? And that's my work. And there are other coaches that can help support that kind of a journey as well. So, yeah.
Love that. That's really good. So coming into my question now, because I always ask everybody this, and on the birthday episodes, we chop the answers back to back. So
I love that.
After each other, because of course there's no right or wrong answer. And because it's your freedom podcast, it's the best. It's the question we've got to ask. So what does freedom mean to you, Tanya?
I think freedom means to me, and probably not surprising because it's a lot of what I've said today in our conversation, but is really knowing yourself well enough that you know what needs work, how to honor yourself, how to understand what's in the way, or how are you going to get that level of understanding, that kind of thing, really to know yourself well. And so that those things that might be in the way are not running the show. Even if they're still in play, at least you know what they look like, you know how they show up, and you know how to come back to yourself again and again. I think to be able to honor our hearts is the most freedom any of us can have.
Yeah, it's like you say, it's like the awareness with everything you were saying about the tracking and stuff, and then you're going to feel empowered to be able to kind of handle your whole life because you're
That's
aware
right.
and you know these things. Like you
Yeah.
say, whether you're working on them right now or not, you're just aware of the patterns and
That's
just
right.
yeah, I love that. I think it's really important
Yeah.
for everybody to be sort of more aware, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And then you're not a victim of sort of life kind of taking you in these directions, sort of like a pinball machine. If you're not aware, then you're bounced around from all kinds of things that you don't feel that you can control. And of course, we can't control everything. I'm not saying that at all,
so,
but at least understanding yourself.
out like as in it's just being aware, isn't it? It's how it gives you that confidence that you can kind of like laugh at you. I know I do this. I
That's
can
right.
laugh at myself. Well, oh God, I've done that again.
Yes.
That literally needs work. Whatever. And
Yeah.
actually love yourself for all of those quirks of not being perfect as we perceive. We
Yeah.
need to be.
Yeah. I love that. I think being able to laugh at yourself and being able to laugh at like human stuff. Like
Yeah.
we're funny if we can sort of see like, oh, there I go again, that
Yeah.
thing that shows up. Okay, let me breathe. Let me get grounded and let me sort of come back again.
Yeah, I love that. Brilliant. It's been great speaking to you. I feel like we could chat all afternoon.
It has been wonderful speaking with you as well.
So enjoy Italy next week.
Thank you. Thank
Um,
you.
for anybody that is, I think sometimes you just feel aligned and you just get inspired by different people you hear. And if you're feeling that from this conversation, do reach out. Look in the show notes and the comments. Go and follow on the socials, on Instagram and on TikTok. Go and follow Tanya. And reach out to her, start having a chat. So really, really loved having you on the show and stay in touch. And I'm going to keep in touch with you and see what retreats you're doing because you never know. I keep saying that I'm going to come back. I haven't been to the US for a while, actually.
Yeah.
In Europe. And yeah, pre-COVID, I was doing quite a lot. Went on like to Miami and Vegas. Yeah, I think I'd only do Vegas once. Vegas was enough once for me.
Yeah.
It was a conference that I'd gone on, but I was like, oh my God, this place is crazy.
Oh, I've never even been there. I can only imagine.
Yeah, New York, I've still not. I'm like, I can't believe I've not been to New York. It's like not going to London. Why have I not been to New York? So New York at some point, but it's been great to connect with you
You as well.
and we'll speak soon. So thanks.
Oh, thank you, Anna. All right, good to see you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Your Freedom Podcast. And don't forget to subscribe on iTunes and subscribe on my YouTube channel. And if you want to get more freedom in your life, then come and join Your Freedom Project Facebook group, which the link is below in the comments section. And I am giving you a copy of my visualization manifesting book. So manifest more freedom in your life and live the life of your dreams.
Hey, thank you for listening. Hope you had a blast. Here to elevate your life. It's the Freedom Podcast. Love, money, mind. Love, money, mind. Wanna see you all win. Wanna see you all shine. Just make sure that you subscribe. Bringing good vibes. Join the Facebook group. Now it's time to change your life. Hope you come back. Right now is the chance. This is an experience. It's the Freedom Podcast. Hey.